Welcome to Shelley's Wreaths and More. I'm Michelle Pethley, and today I'm going to make an Easter wreath with a Sisal bunny. This bunny is from Michael's, and you can see that she has got a beautiful dress on with oranges, pinks, blues, and yellows, but I am going to play on the really hot trend now, which is pink and orange. In addition to this evergreen or pink green wreath frame, I am going to use orange, pink, and a neutral mesh to fill the base. And in addition to that, I'm going to marry these colors, the pink and orange, in these ribbons, orange and pink for the tails. So you can see that I'm going to really hit that new trend pretty hard. Pink and orange for Easter is very hot right now. And let's see how this turns out. I'm first going to take off, oh, this is cruel and unusual punishment. I'm going to take the price tag off of my bunny. And like I said, I did get her from Michael's. I'm sure there's some still available. I'm going to set her aside while we fill our base with the mesh. All right, the first thing I want to do is I want to put in 10-inch poofs on the top ring. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to squeeze this wreath into an oval. And then, because my bunny is so elongated, I think an oval wreath will suit it more appropriately. So I'm going to use this mesh to make 10-inch poofs on the top ring. Take it out of the paper. Sorry for the noise. All right. The way we make the poofs is we just gather up the ends. All right. We're going to secure this in one of the ties as our starting point. Okay. And just give it a good twist, and it's pretty secure. Now, I used to take on work frames, I will take and secure that with a zip tie, but I think we have it pretty secure using these pine ties. All right, now I'm going to drop my mesh to the floor. It just makes it easier. And I'm going to attempt to put 10 poofs on the top ring, and they're 10-inch. I'm going to use something to measure with. Just opening up this tool to 10 inches. Okay. And I'm just going to put this end at the base of the tie that I just started with and run my hands up here. This is 10 inches from here to here. We're just going to secure this a little ways down with 2 more ties. Now, I should say that before I went live, I did open up all the ties on the wreath. I took some time to really spread them out. Makes it easier when you're working here. Also, when we want to glue in anything, after we've gotten everything in, these ties are wonderful. The glue just catches them perfectly and holds everything in place. So if you open them up, you'll see that when you're putting other things in your wreath, there's more to grab on with the hot glue. Okay, that's 2. Like I said, just follow this around the wreath on the top frame, the top wire, ring. My only problem is I usually lose count, so you'll see me having to count a couple of times throughout this process. I'm just trying to explain that. Okay, and also these poofs have dual purposes. They take up and fill in a lot of the wreath. That's one thing. The other is that it will hold your attachments, whether you're using a sign or in my case this Sisal bunny. It holds the object that you're putting in the wreath upright a little bit more, and it doesn't sink into your wreath. From the weight of it. The poofs are very good that way. It's a good reason to put in there. And like I said, it does add a color. This is actually the color of the bunny, the fur and the little paws. The fur is the darker color and the paws is the lighter color. Okay, we're halfway there. Just find 2 ties together. And twist. Give it a good twist. There you go. And then open them up. Now you can use this 10-inch mesh, or you can use 21-inch mesh. The 21-inch mesh really fills out the whole wreath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 4 more. And just open it up. Okay, now if you don't have a measure like this, you can use a piece of cardboard cut to 10 inches. That would work. Or another thing is, and I'm going to show you, if I line up the last tie on a line on my mat, which is numbered, on 17, if I take and carry this mesh, if I pull it to the side to number 7, okay, that's 10 inches. And there's your poof. So you don't need to have a special tool, anything fancy. You can use your mat. If you don't have a mat, of course, you can use, like I said, a piece of cardboard or even a ruler. Ruler, of course, be 12 inches, but a 12-inch poof isn't the end of the world either. This is my last one. I'm going to do that again. I'm lined up on line 18 this time, and I'm just going to pull at the 8. Now this 10-inch poof I'm going to anchor in the very beginning, the same poof, the same ties I should say that we started with, so it now is a complete circle. And this tie has the beginning point and the end point in there. All right, now we just cut our mesh, and that's all we need to do with this mesh. Just pick it up from the floor. I have my dogs in this room today, so if you hear any barking, I've been very fortunate to have them with me. And I mean that with tongue-in-cheek, because I have a puppy, a 2-year-old Labrador, who tends to grab my mesh and run with it, or his latest thing is he'll grab a roll of ribbon, hoping that I'm going to chase him, and it becomes a real pain. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our ruffles to the ring. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my ribbons here for 1 second. And okay, now I've already cut my mesh, tried to save us a little bit of time, and I cut 12 pieces of mesh for the bottom roll, and I cut 10 for the inner row. Now the bottom row, I cut it 30 inches. And I want 12 because that'll give us a perfect coverage and let us have some room to add some things. Now to make a cruffle, we're going to turn the end. Let's get this out of the way. These tools are no longer needed. We're going to take and turn the end under and make a roll. And the purpose of this is, of course, to hide the end that is cut. And now we're going to scrunch to the other end. Simply run your fingers, gathering the mesh down as you go. When you get to this edge, just take and turn this edge in towards the middle and gather it up. And there you have it. You'll have your cruffle. You'll have 2 ruffles or 2 curls on the end and a ruffle in between, cruffle. And the purpose of that, of course, is to to keep the ends that are cut turned inward so they will minimize the fraying. I say minimize because there's always going to be some kind of fraying. Now, I'm going to start in between, or kind of in the middle, shall we say, of my poof, but I'm on the bottom. And the other thing that I like to do is I take my cruffle and turn it upside down. This gives us a little bit more of a smooth area. So when I add my ribbon ties or ribbon tails, they won't get all bunched up. Okay, so just take it and twist it in there and fluff it up, and there you have it. You see how that's in there? Okay, now because I'm using 12 and I'm an accountant, okay, I like to make sure that everything is equal. I'm going to go directly across my wreath where I put this pink one in, and I'm going to go and put another pink one in there. All right, now I'm going to put them in on a pattern, but this will help me make sure that the wreath is equal, okay? So I'm just going to do another cruffle with this pink. Okay, now scrunch up the middle, follow the line of the mesh all the way up the middle, just using your pointer finger and tall man for the PG version of this, and pull them to your thumb. And then when you get to this end, gather up the curl and just kind of push it together. Now I flip it over and I'll put it in a tie, a set of ties up at the top. Now it's not going to necessarily be exact, but I'm trying to be as close as possible. All right, and then just open it up, and now you have two of them. Oh, right. All right. I can see I'm a little bit off. I'm just going to quickly move it just an inch over. And you don't have to be this precise. It just makes it easier when you put your ribbon tails in, and everything is well balanced. Okay, now I'm going to take the other. I have two more pinks. I'm going to do the same thing, but on the north, and I did north and south. Let's do east and west. Okay, I'm going to just find a pine tie here. Do the cruffle with the pink. Again, just roll it. Make sure that you're seeing what I'm doing. I'll put my scissors there. Curl that end in so that the cut side is in that curl. You're going to use your pointer and middle fingers to pull the mesh to the thumb that's holding the back of it. Just kind of accordion pleating it. And then take this end and make a curl, and then just pull it together. And I turn it upside down. You don't have to turn it upside down, but I do. When you put it in and you pull it, you're going to see all the ruffles anyway. So you're not, either way will work just fine, okay? Now, let's come over to this side, directly across from this one. We're going to put in our last pink cruffle on the bottom ring anyway. Okay, I'm going to show you again the same process we've been doing for the cruffle. Just curl the end under. All right, using your fingers, pull that mesh to your thumbs. Go right up the middle. There are some people who are so fast at that. I just like to take my time because I try to keep it as even as possible. Then just take the end, curl it up, and then turn it over. There you go, and you have your cruffle. I'm going to put it in here, and I'm hoping that I've dissected my wreath in 4 quadrants perfectly with this pink. Now the next couple of layers is not hard at all because the thinking is done for us. So now you'll see we have a pink here and a pink here. We need to put 2 more pieces, one of our beige and one of our orange, in each of these slots. Using the same method, we're going to use the cruffle method on this as well. All right, so just lay out your mesh, curl it in. And you can see this mesh here has the same color of the bunny feet and paws, dark fur and light. Just going to curl this end in and bring it together. And then just find a pine tie, and put it in there between the two pinks. Now, you should have one more space for one more cruffle, and we're going to do it right here. That's going to be our orange. Okay, turn it in. Let me put my scissors down here again to show you. Then just cruffle, just pull that mesh to your thumbs. And glide your thumbs along the mat or your table. When you get close to the end, just turn it inward and bring it together. Okay? And this will be the last piece of mesh that I'm putting in this quadrant of the wreath. Find two ties and just pull them together. Twist them. So that's pretty much what our wreath will look like all the way around. You'll see that it's got the pink, the beige, and then the orange. Now we're going to start again. Pink. I'm going to put the beige and the orange in between. Now I'm not sure if I told you, I cut these for the bottom. I cut the mesh for the bottom at 30 inches. I cut the mesh for the top at 25, and the difference for the 5 is primarily, you know, the outer ring is going to be bigger than the inner ring, and then in addition, on the top we already have those poofs, so we don't need as much coverage from the actual cruffle itself that we do for the bottom. You know, on the bottom we're just using cruffles, we have no poofs, so we just definitely want to use 30 inches on the bottom to give us the coverage that we need. Okay, and the last one for the orange. Now, the orange and the pink mesh is a brand new mesh on the market. It's called Breeze Mesh. And it's, I love this texture. It's softer to the feel, yet firm. It still holds up. It's still not a mushy mesh, meaning like, you know, it's got some weight to it, but it's not really scratchy. I don't know the better word. Like value mesh is very, you know, it's just basically plastic. This has a little something in it that makes it, the stripe that goes through it is made out of something, a softer fabric. And it makes the whole mesh really nice to the touch anyway. And like I said, it does hold up very well. Okay, so that's our last one between those two. Now let's do these two. Do the beige. And you'll see I'm doing a pattern. Pink, beige, orange, pink, beige, beige, orange. Now if you only want to use two colors, you know, you can even just use one color if you want. It's always up to you as the designer to what kind of look you want. I personally try to bring in enough colors from the actual attachment I'm using, whether it's a sign or in this case my bunny. And I just couldn't wait to try this pink and orange, the new trend, pink and orange. I have some pink and orange ribbons that really have gorgeous tones to them. So it'll be nice to see how they all look. Okay, one more orange here. Okay, and again, just make that curl to get those cut edges inside the poof, inside the curl, and it will reduce your fraying. Yeah, every mesh frays. That's a sad fact about mesh, but if you fold it this way, it minimizes the edges that are likely to fray. If, you know, if overused or pulled on, or, okay, find 2 ties, push them in there. Push it as deep as you can. Try to get that mesh right on the wire of the ring. Put it in there securely. And our last section on the bottom ring. Now we have 10 ties on the top. We have 10 poofs. No, I'm sorry, we have 8. How many did I do? I did 8, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, 10. I'm sorry, 10. We did 10. And we're going to put, now you see I have 3. 10 is not divisible by 3. So I had a special cut so that I don't have 2 colors next to each other. What I do is I cut 3 batches of these, and then I just add, see how this beige is technically the middle color, and I just made one more middle color for the top, and then that way we won't have 2 colors next to each other, the same color. So that's the only difference with when you put in 3 meshes, 3 different colors. You definitely have to pay attention to that. Okay, now I have the last piece of mesh going in. Again, I'm just turning that end under, ruffling up the middle. As I get towards that end, I just curl it in and pull it together. All right. Find 2 ties that are down here next to each other, and the mesh on the bottom ring is done. Okay. All right. Now we're just going to go into the top and use the same ties that we used to put the poofs on there. We're going to use the same ties to put the mesh on there. Now remember I mentioned that these pieces of mesh were cut at 25 inches. So I'm going to start same pattern. Let's start with my orange. And we're doing the same method. We're just curling, ruffling, curling in, and pinching. Now I'm going to open up this tie that has the poof in it. I'm going to push this down inside there, tie it back up, okay, and then just open that up, okay. See, some of this fray it just happens. It's not a big deal. Okay, now I'm going to do a beige. And we'll just continue this pattern all around the top. And as I said, we had one extra, and I used cut the beige just so that the two aren't two of the same colors are not butted up. Okay, we're going to go into this tie that's holding the poof, untwist it, open it up, and then just push this down and tie that mesh in there with the same ties. Okay, and just lift up the ends. There we go. Now here's one. We're going to do the pink. Gather it up the middle. Okay, you can see I'm opening it up, putting it down into it, press it down, and then just twist it together. Oops. one extra tie there. There we go. Okay. I just like to get my poofs in there. All right, here's the next one. Let's start back with the orange. Orange and pink combination has made it big on Halloween circuit last year. It was a very pretty combination. And one of the ribbons that I'm using, and it brings back childhood memories of, did any of you have those push-ups with orange sherbet in them? I used to just get those all the time from the ice cream man. And I have a ribbon that just reminds me exactly of that. Like orange sherbet. Okay, just pull it tight. Alrighty, here's our next one right here. We're going to put a pink in there. I'm opening up the ties because these are kind of a short pine tie. And if I didn't open it up, I don't think I'd have enough room for all the mesh that is going in each tie as well as a ribbon. So, okay, we have 3 more, actually 4 more. Do the orange. Sometimes making the mesh base is just the long, tedious process, but when it's done right, it really, really makes the wreath stand out, makes a very pretty statement on your wreath. Okay, just opening up that tie, pushing this down, and then retying it. You don't have to worry, the mesh has some memory to it. It's not going to spring out, you know, when you open up the tie, it's not going to spring out, explode, and it kind of stays where it's been put. And you don't have to open up the ties. I just do it. But you know, there are plenty of people who make wreaths. I watch a lot of videos, and a lot of people make wreaths, and they don't open it up, and their wreaths are absolutely gorgeous. So, you know, don't get hung up on one particular thing. Kind of make your own way in this. Take what you can from each person you watch or you follow, and you'll find your own way. You know, you'll kind of find what works for you, and hopefully, if you want to share that with people, I am sure everybody would appreciate that. There's always something that you can learn from somebody else. And this is a great community for that. We all share ideas and methods. And you know, try as you may, you can never make the same wreath twice. You can use the same exact items, mesh, attachments, ribbons as somebody that you follow, but yours will never look the same as theirs. There's something about it. And it's funny because people will ask me to make double door matchy wreaths, and it's impossible. It really is impossible to get everything. You can use the same colors and the same theme and the same attachments, but you can never, even making it yourself, you can never make the exact same one. Okay, this is what I meant by, in the pattern, the next mesh that I should be putting in would be the orange, but then I'd have two oranges together. And if I put a pink in there, so that's why I cut one extra piece of the beige mesh, and that way, even though it's not in the exact same pattern, you won't have a big blob of color, you know, a big blob of orange or a big blob of pink in this case. This still breaks it up, and again, it's not, once you put ribbons in, you won't even notice that. But that's not the exact same pattern that we've done all the way around. Okay, so there we have it. That is our wreath base. For our wreath. Okay, the next step is going to be putting in the ribbon tails. And I'm just going to start with, these are the colors that I have chosen. This is the orange sherbet. Now, doesn't that look like orange sherbet? Is the camera doing this justice? Okay, and I'm going to pair that with a carrot ribbon. And then to bring in the pink side of this, I have a pink and orange. Now this may bleed out on the camera, unfortunately, with my Mevo and the lights that I use. Sometimes you can't pick up on the colors as easily as you should. But do you see that that's an orange and a pink together? And I'm going to use a glittered pink ribbon for that one. So those are my ribbon tails. Now I cut my ribbon tails at 13 inches. That just is what works for me. We're going to put one on every tie on the bottom. And then on the top, I've cut 8 of this, so we need 6 on the bottom. And I'm going to wait to put the ones on the top, only because once I put the bunny in, she takes up a lot of the real estate. So I don't want to put in ribbon tails, and then have her cover it up. So, and actually, before I do the tails themselves, I'm going to squish this wreath, okay, into an oval. Now, hopefully all I do is just put it on the edge and pull down. And you can see it's an oval. Okay, and now she fits a little bit better. She's more in line. And actually, I'm going to just tilt her to the side a little when I put her in. And then I'm going to put a bow down here. And maybe we'll put a bow up here as well. And see, for that reason, I don't necessarily want to put all the ribbon tails on the upper level until I'm more sure of how many we need. I know we're going to need some, so I cut 2 of each color for up there, but I didn't plan on one for every single tie up there. Now, to also help not only keep this in an oval shape, but also give me some things to tie onto. For instance, if I'm trying to tie in my bunny, I may need something in the middle to tie onto, and you can see there's really nothing in the middle. So what I do is, and again, I've learned this from people I watch. It's nothing that I've created, but it's very, very useful. I take 3 ties, zip ties, my larger ones, okay, and I tie them together, and then I just slip this under the inner ring, and just give me a second, it's just giving me a little bit of trouble. There we go. I fish it through that, and then I'm going to pull this one through this side. There we go. All right. Okay, Then you just pull them tight. And you can see that it is keeping the oval. And you want to get it as tight as you can. Oh, how about that? That's the first time they've ever broken on me. We'll just start again. I would say that these have never broken on me. These are the same ones that I use when I go to craft shows. I tie my tent, the grid walls to my tent with these, so I'm surprised that it even broke. But not a problem. We'll start again. All right. They're just not quite long enough to get to the across the whole thing with just 2, so I have to use 3 for sure. I'll get that one started better. And I'll put this through again. Let's pull this one up this way. There we go. This may be easier going from the bottom than trying to get through the top. There we go. And okay, now you can see how it's pulling it. All right. I just take and clip these tails. Now, if I feed something down through the middle of the wreath for the attachment, I'll have this is pretty strong, to attach it to. All right? Oh, there we go. Okay, this beige is there's little threads that come off just the top row of it. It doesn't destroy anything. I just like to pick those off anyway. Okay, so let's start by putting the tails on the bottom. And the way I do that is, again, each one of these ribbons is cut to 13 inches. And I line them up together and then just fold them in half just to get the center of this batch. And then just take and in the center, just scrunch it up. Okay, gives you a little bow tie. All right, and I take and I'm going to open up the ties again on the bottom. You don't have to. I like to do that. I push this right into the middle of it, push down on it, twist up that tie for the last time. We're not going to open it anymore. Give it a couple of good twists. And then I take and turn my ribbons over and then separate them. Can you see? Not very well. Let me do this real quick for you. Okay, so I open them up so that they cover more real estate. Okay, turn them over, and then I just separate the 2 ties. I pull the shorter one or the thinner one, 1.5 inch, up that direction, and just kind of fan them out. All right. Now I go back, I'm going to do it with my orange sherbet and carrot ribbon. Same process. We're going to, let me move my little bunny here. Give us just a little bit more room, so hopefully you can see this. How's that? Okay. Now I'm going to take and fold them. I've cut them at 13 inches, like I said, and I've dovetailed them. Find the middle, Let's scrunch it up. Okay. Go to the next tie in here. I open it up, push it down, push that ribbon all the way down to the ring, and then give the twist ties a good twist because we're done using them. Now separate out the ribbons. Okay. Kind of pull them. You're the master of them. Don't be afraid to pull them and separate them. And then just kind of punch out that little dimple that's very close to the tie so that the ribbons arch over. And I'll turn this so you can see it. So here's our second one. You'll see that the pink and the orange, the pink is the first and the orange and the carrot is the second one. All right. All right, so they'll overlap a little bit, but that's what gives it that look. Okay, now go back to the pink. Pink packet. And we're just going to do this all the way around the bottom. We have 12 on the bottom. So each packet, just crinkle up the middle. Okay, this is the dimple I was talking about. If you push this dimple out, see how your ribbons then turn under? They give this arch underneath it. All right. So if I push this dimple upward, push it out, then your ribbons, because of the wires of the ribbons, automatically curl under. All right? So just go to your next tie, open it up, or don't. I don't want to confuse you. I just want you to know there's no right or wrong way to do it. Just find what works for you. Okay, now just separate them out. And as long as the dimple is pushed out, they'll arch over the mesh and cover it up, and there you go. I'm going to finish this on the bottom row, and I'll come right back to you when we're done. We have that all finished. You can see the ribbon along the bottom rail is all fluffed out and spread out. Now it's time to attach our bunny. And the way that I'm going to attach this bunny is I'm going to put her in sideways with a little bit of a tilt, straight up and down, okay? And for that reason, I took a beige pipe cleaner and ran it along underneath the collar of her dress. Can you see that? It's underneath there, so I can tuck down the collar and you won't even see that pipe cleaner. Okay? And then the second one, so we're going to do it on the side again. Let me move this out of the way so I can show you. Okay. On her hip area, I'm going to take my scissors and just poke a hole. This is a foam bunny. Poke a hole. Then I'm going to take a pipe cleaner, bend it in half, and then just put the tip of it in the hot glue, and then put that into the hole that I just made. All right? And then I just open up the pipe cleaner, and I'm using a U-pin. Can you see this, the U-pin in my hand? Not really. It's just a floral pin that's in the shape of a square U. Okay, 2 points on the end. Just going to take and dip that in the glue and put it, straddle the pipe cleaner. And then just push. You're going to need something strong to push it down into it. Also, so the hot glue, when you get down to the bottom, doesn't burn you. Okay? So I usually do that 2 of them, and I crisscross the pipe, the the U-pin has gone this way on this time. Now I'm going to go this way on it. Again, push down. And then use something a little bit stronger when you get to the end. And there you go. Okay. So her skirt, we'll pull it down. We'll pull the pipe cleaner down, and we'll actually end up securing it in the wreath frame around those zip ties that I put in the middle. Okay, so let's get this all set up now. Okay, she's going to be kind of on her side. Bury her in there a little bit. Make sure that she's even in the wreath from top to bottom. Yeah, okay. So, I'm going to take this. You can see in the middle here, that's the black zip ties. Do you see that in the middle? The black zip ties are down there. That's what we're going to put this pipe cleaner around to secure. Pull her in there. And I sometimes just have to wiggle her around a little bit, but you want to just make sure that she's up and down straight in the wreath. Okay. And I'm just going to separate these and twist them down. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same with the one I put around her neck. But here I'll be able to hit when I fish it through the mesh, I'll be able to hit the first ring or the upper ring of the wreath frame. So you always want to get something to secure this around. Definitely, if you're using try the wreath frame itself. That's going to give you the most stability. And then your second choice, of course, would be something like the zip ties that I just used, because that vast area has no support at all. All right, and then I'm just taking and hopefully getting this in. Sometimes going through the mesh gives me a little bit of problem, so I just have to poke it through. There we go. And then get it around the wreath frame, which is just taking me a little time here. There we go. Ooh, you're getting an up-close personal look at her, huh? All right. Just twisting it really tightly. Now I just want to make sure that I look at her straight on, make sure that she's straight up and down. I think her feet just have to come over a little bit more like this. There we go. Double check again. Now I think what I'm going to need to do is just put another one right here underneath her, kind of in her thigh area, to pull her down this way. So just give me a second. I just am going to do the same process. I'm going to try to do it without taking her off so that we don't waste too much time getting this in. I'm just going to take and don't worry, this will just pinch for a little bit. Just made the hole. Put the pipe cleaner in the hole. And then just get some U-pins again. And straddle that. There we go. The glue will help this whole process, again, lend more stability to this. Let's get our glue strings off. And we're going to just push down. I ordered this bunny from Michael's. So I don't have a Michael's very close to me, and I just saw it and I wanted to grab it up. I had a coupon. The shame of it was when it was delivered, this bunny her little leg was broken off. I think somebody must have used her before, and they didn't really check when they returned it because the leg was broken off. But it was easy to fix. I just used a skewer and hot glue, and she is as good as new. Okay, now I've just wound that around the frame. I'll turn it over and show you what I've done here. But I've just taken and put it through the wire frame. Okay, let me turn it over for you. All right. And you can see that this is the one that was up on her hip, and we secured it to this. And then this is the one that I just put in on the left side of her. And then up here is the one that's around her neck. So when we've gotten it all in, we can take and cut off these excess excess pipe cleaners, I should say. Get them out of the way. There we go. And then just tuck that pipe cleaner in so it doesn't scratch anything. All right, and there she is. She's not going anywhere on this wreath. All right, and now you can see that the reason I didn't put in the tails is that she's got, her feet are taking up a spot, her head is taking up a spot. I just didn't want to put in all that ribbon and actually then not use it or cover it up. Okay, so I'm going to make a bow, and I'm going to put it right here. All right, and then we'll put the other tails that we did have, kind of fill in these spots, and then I thought we could put some florals in. So let's make our bow right now. I already have the ribbons picked. Okay, let's clean this up real quick. Using the Easy Bow Maker. All right, I always start with a pipe cleaner down at the bottom, and then I'll build my bow on top of it. And then this will be how I secure the bow in the wreath. I'm going to start with a 4-inch ribbon. This is really kind of a cool ribbon. I've had it for a while, and that's probably the first time that I'm using it, a design with it that comes in perfectly. I don't know if you can see it in fact, it just looks like black dots because of the light. But unfortunately, what you're not able to see is that these are little little diamonds that have orange and bright pink in them. And then there's bright pink on the outside of the ribbon itself. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to show you that to the best ability, but I'm going to take and make about maybe about a 10-inch. I'm going to fold this over, so I'm going to go up to 12 inches, okay? A 12-inch tail. You're going to scrunch it up. This is a designer ribbon, so it's a little stiffer. You just have to really kind of be the boss of this ribbon. Okay, and we're going to twist Okay, and we're twisting so that the pretty side of the ribbon, or the side that you want showing, is on the outside, and then the inside is the other side of the ribbon, the bad. I don't want to say bad because this ribbon has two good sides to it. So it's just the side that we want showing. I'm going to make an 8-inch loop and twist it again. Okay, bring this back in and bring it out to 8 inches. Now this time I'm just compressing it. I'm not twisting it, I'm just compressing it because we're only making 2 loops out of this ribbon, and we want the correct side of the ribbon showing. So let's cut it off. And I'm not going to dovetail this again because I'm going to roll it. This is a designer ribbon that has 2 sides that are fused together, and I'd like to roll it up, the other side of it to roll up and to be seen. So it adds quite a bit to our design. Now the next ribbon that I'm going to take is a green ribbon. I don't know if you remember that she had flowers on her skirt, our bunny, and I just want to bring in a little bit of green. Gives it some depth as well. The darkness of the ribbon gives it some depth. And I could choose between this ribbon or this ribbon. Actually, I think I'm going to stick with this netted ribbon. Okay, this window pane. So we're going to twist it again and just bring that tail up. You can make probably a 7-inch loop on this one because we want it less than this one. And I'm just taking and twisting in the middle. Even though this ribbon doesn't have a good bad side, we still want to twist. Push down on that. Now we're just compressing it and bringing this tail down. Okay. Now I'm going to use the orange ribbon we've used this on and see this one has a good side. This is a good side, but look at this. This secondary side is actually gorgeous. So we're going to leave this one a little bit longer so I can roll this one as well. We're going to put it in. We're going to twist. Okay. And then we're going to bring up this loop like this. Twist, push down. And each loop that I'm making is just slightly smaller than the one before. And this one I'm not going to twist actually because we're done with and we want the correct side showing. Again, I'm cutting it a little bit longer so I can roll it. Okay. The next ribbon we're going to use is the other 2.5-inch ribbon that we made tails out of, the pink glittered. All right. We're going to start at the top, and this one I am going to dovetail. This is how you dovetail. You take and you fold it in half. Then you're going to cut from the fold to the point on an angle, and you end up with a dovetail, the V in it. Okay? I'm going to put that side in. Now twist so that is showing. The glitter is on the correct side. Bring the loop over. Push it down a bit and twist it. And in this case, now we're just compressing it. Okay, and I'm making X's with each of the loops and the tails. You can see that the pink, I'm going to dovetail this one, cut from the fold to the points, and there you go. But back to the X's, you can see that I'm lining up the X's. You have the loops and the tails, and they form an X, okay? Now the next one I want to do is, I think the carrots. All right. And our tail is going to start on the bottom. We're going to dovetail this one. Again, cut from the fold to the point and put it in. Now we're going to twist, push down on that, bring the loop around. This one's going to be slightly smaller than the pink one. Okay. Same up here. Slightly smaller than the pink. And then we're going to dovetail it. Alrighty. You can see the X's again, going across from each other. And finally, our last ribbon. I'm going to just double check. I thought if I had another green, I do want to bring the green to the top again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay in a strip of green, okay? And only because I don't want the green to get lost. So I'm going to take and just lay in a strip of it like this. Okay, so it kind of comes up from what you're doing is you're bringing the color from below back up to the top, and it helps that then the green doesn't get lost. Okay, kind of helps the green and the carrots. There we go. And finally, our last ribbon that we made the tails out of as well. Now you don't always have to use just the ribbon that you use in tails, but I'd like to carry the theme through and add other ones. Dovetailing that, I'm going to put it on the top with the tail up, and we're going to put the bow there, the loop there. Let's spread these out a little bit. Now I'm going to make one other loop in the top, and that's going to be a small loop around the top peg and then down. And the reason is we're going to feed our zip tie through as we close this bow up, okay? And then that particular loop, that little baby loop, is going to hide the zip tie. You won't see it. Okay, so everything is dovetailed that needs to be. After we fluff our bow, I'll roll the edges of the designer ribbons, and then I'll show you as the bow is all fluffed out. Now I'm going to use a big zip tie. I'm going to go underneath, bottom tail, and I have to remember you want the zip tie to go underneath that pipe cleaner as well. Okay, slide it to the middle of the pegs. It's underneath the pipe cleaner as well, so that way the pipe cleaner is in the bow. Then I'm going to just fish the tail of the zip tie through that little loop. Okay, then cinch it a bit so that we can pull up. All right, now taking it off is the tricky part, but you're just going to keep compressing it. I keep it in the bow maker as long as possible so that I don't have to, that stack doesn't shift on me. Now, what I'm doing, I'm trying to show you that there's a crevice down the middle from those pegs, and that's what you want your zip tie or your pipe cleaner, whatever you're using to close your bow or to cinch your bow, you want it to rest in that little gully. And just keep pulling it. Make sure nothing shifts on you. And pull it as tight as you can. All right, let's clip it, and then we'll fluff our bow and roll the edges, and you'll see how this bow turns out. These are the pipe cleaners that we're going to attach it to the wreath with. Okay, now the way I fluff it is, I know that this is my long tail on the big ribbon, so I'm going to put that one down and just pull the loop up a little bit, okay? Now the next thing that I put in was the green, I'm going to pull the tail up and the loop down. Then the orange ribbon, pull the tail down, and the loop up. Then we're doing the pink, which is the tail is up in this case, and the loop is down. So you can see how they kind of all fit within each other. We have the 4-inch, the orange and the pink on each side, the green in the middle. I'm going to take the carrots and pull that one up. And then finally this striped one, it's going to be in the middle that way. All right? And that's one half of the bow. Let's do the other side real quick. Do the same thing. We're going to pull the tail of the 4-inch ribbon up to the top. All right? The next is the green. We're going to pull the loop up and the tail down. The next one is the orange. We're going to pull the tail up and the loop down. And this is all just exactly how the bow was made. You know, we just know that when I made my X's, that the loop was going down, you know. Then here's the pink. And then the carrots, the green, just the green extra accent. And then I noticed that this bow is just a little, needs to pull it just a little so that they're equal. There we go. All right. All right. So then I just kind of give each of the tails a little curl like that so it bends down over the ribbon. You can move it wherever you need to make it. This one just needs to be retwisted a little bit over. It was on the, there we go. Do you see how that middle loop, that little hides are? Our zip tie. Okay? Now, let's roll up these. What I like to use is maybe a glue, stick of glue. Obviously, it's not hot. And just roll. Yeah, it gives it just a different way of looking. Then I'm going to do the same to the orange because the orange has a beautiful back, satin orange backing it. Roll it a little bit. Okay. Now let's do it on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to take and roll it again. This is the beginning of it. Roll it. You can fold it too. I just roll it to give it a little bit of a curl. And then the same with the orange. I want this orange to be shorter than the pink one, so I'm going to just roll it a little bit longer. I mean, longer time-wise, not longer lengthwise. There we go. Okay. So there you have our bow. All right. And see that green window pane ribbon just gives it, again, just a different look, a little different texture, just as well as the rolling of the ends give it a little bit of a texture as well. This makes your bow more unique. Now, I can't dovetail these because, so I just cut close to the edge as possible. Okay, here we go. Now let's put our bow into our wreath and then determine if we want to put another bow at the top or if we want to just put florals in. Okay, so here's our wreath. I want the bow to kind of cover up her foot just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to feed these through and catch the bottom wreath frame. And then we'll just, once we have it in there, we'll maneuver the bow so that it lays nicely on the arrangement. Oops. Hey, stay there. Okay. Just feeding it through. Sometimes it takes longer than you think it should. There we go. That's it. Now I've just got to find the other half of my pipe cleaner. This pipe cleaner end is a magician. He's disappearing. He's doing a disappearing act right into the mesh. Okay, here we go. Now again, I'm straddling the wire underneath the wire of the frame so that it gives it stability when you pull down on this. And then it actually allows you to pull this tight. Kind of pull it into the wreath a little bit. You don't want it to sink in really far, but just enough to bring it to life. Okay, and I'm just twisting it in the back. There we go. Now let's just fluff our ribbons. I kind of want the longer ones to kind of come down. You don't want them to defy gravity and stick out sideways. Okay, give each loop a little fluff. And there we go. You see how the bow works? In with our girl. And it's really not hanging off too far. It's starting kind of at her foot and moving into the wreath, which is good. Okay. I do think that we should put maybe a small bow up here, just a small half bow maybe, with tails going off, and then we can fill in tails here and tails here from below. Okay, so let's work on a quick half bow. Now a half bow is just exactly that. It's half of a bow. It's one loop. I'm going to stick her up here. Hopefully you can still see what I'm doing here. Okay, so it is one loop of each ribbon. And we start with this, same ribbons that we used in our big bow. All right, let me get the pipe cleaner. Same process. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to put too long of tails on it. It's going to be, okay, this one, the first one, is going to be a little longer because we roll it instead of dovetailing it. So we're going to twist it. All right, pull that to the side. And then one bow, one loop I should say. And let's just do 6 inches on this one. Just compress it down because we're only doing one loop. See? And then we're going to cut this off. We're going to roll that at the end. Okay? do the green, just like we did before. Just a tail. I'm going to trim this right now so we don't have to worry about it later. Okay, just one loop. Compress it and cut. There we go. All right, and we're just offsetting each ribbon sideways, just like we did before, where instead of making X's, we're just making a, okay, kind of like a awareness ribbon. I'm going to take this, make it just a little longer only because we're rolling it, we're twisting it. We're going to go off to this side a little bit. Make it a little bit smaller, compress it. Okay. Oh, perfect. Can you see that they put the two rolls of ribbon together? So this is perfectly spaced. I'll just cut this out so that I don't use it next time. So when they just splice two ribbons together like that, they just glue it. That's not the end of the world. Just cut it out. And okay, now we're going to do the pink. This one we do dovetail. Fold it, cut from the fold to the point. Okay, and this ribbon goes out this way. This one is going to go down the middle. We're going to do just slightly smaller than that orange one. Compress it, and then we'll bring this one out this way. And dovetail. The orange and the other one look pretty big. Okay. Then we just have two more ribbons, the carrot, and then and do the same thing, dovetail. Bring it in. Compress. And dovetail. And finally, our striped ribbon. Dovetail it. And then compress this one down. And dovetail again. Now this just looks, I'm sure, like what in the world is she thinking about here? Let me show you. When I take it off, again using the same thing, the zip tie, make sure you get underneath the pipe cleaner that's in the bottom. And go across the ribbons underneath, come up the sides, okay. Okay, lift it up, compress it with your hand as best you can. Then bring that zip tie to the back of the ribbon. Okay, and still get that in the little gully made, formed by the bow maker, and then pull as tightly as you can. Okay, now this is where the magic comes. All right, so this little bow here, as I fluff it forward, bring everything forward, is going to sit by her head. Okay, and then the tails are going to go out and just form kind of an explosion up there, an explosion of ribbon. So let me get this attached and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we have the two bows in now, and I've smoothed it over and spread them out. Just checking my thing. Now I have a few more ribbon tails to put in. And what I'm going to do is just try to find the areas that need them. I see two pockets, one right here and then the other a little bit further up. We just have a little too much mesh. So I'm going to make two more ribbon tail packets. The pink and the orange I'll put in first. Use the same technique, pop out the dimples. And just, I'm going to open my ties like I've always done, just so that the ribbons can go a little deeper. And just twist it up. And then fan them out. This adds a lot of color to the beige mesh that we have. Okay, so let's do the last one. As soon as I get this one done, I'll pull in the last one on this side, and then we'll just check to see if we have any other open areas. Okay, now we'll just use our orange packet. Just scrunch it in the middle, pop the divots, and then open up the twist tie. These are primarily, of course, the twist ties that are holding the mesh in. And you see that the mesh doesn't pop out just because I've opened up the twist tie. The mesh has a memory and it will stay tucked in there. And you know, there's no need to worry. Okay, so let's check the other side. As you can see, you can fiddle with ribbons for forever, really, when you're doing a wreath like this. Now I have two, I can see right off the bat, I can see two spots that need ribbon tails on this upper area. You can see one right here. There's a lot of beige mesh, as well as here. So we'll just put two more packets of ribbon tail in those two spots. I'm just checking out which order I should put them in. I'm going to put the orange one in first. And these should be our last two ribbon tails. It's the same process that we've done before. Just push it in as far as you can, tighten up the twist ties, and then spread your tails. When you put the divots in the ribbon, that helps the ribbon arch over, you know, kind of form an arch and go down. It makes it a little easier. All right, and this should be our last ribbon tail packet. We're going to tuck this in kind of by her basket. Just going to find the twist ties that are available and just tuck it in. Once I have this done, I'll show you the wreath, kind of a close-up, lift it up to the camera a little bit for you. And you really see that our ribbons take up a lot of real estate in this wreath. There is our first bow. And the secondary bow. There we go. So I think now it's going to be time to stuff this wreath full. I've got a number of different florals. I'll start with some greenery first. And this is a point in time where there's really no rule as involved with stuffing a wreath. What I like to do is I like to start on the perimeter of the wreath. And in this case, I'm using a greenery from Hobby Lobby. I think they call this the button bush or button leaf bush. It comes with 7 stems and they're all pushers, which is nice because it's a very small leaf on this bush. And then when you push it up towards the tip of it, it forms it gives you a very nice cluster, which is perfect for stuffing them in the ribbon tails. What I like to do is I like to glue these into the twist ties that are holding the ribbons in place. That glue really sticks to that twist tie and forms a very good bond. So that's how I, when I look for a space to put these little greeneries in like this, I'm actually sticking them into the twist tie of the ribbon. And you can see it takes up a lot of, because we've condensed it, we've pushed it up before we cut it off. It makes a nice bush of solid green, yet it's very fine leaves. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, put them in the ribbon ties around the perimeter. I'm going to take them out and just dip them in glue. I just wanted to show you, kind of give you a preview of where I'm putting them. And now that's what I'll do is I'll just put them in my glue pot, get some glue on it. You can be an aggressive gluer at this point, and just really nestle it in there. And as long as you're hitting one of the twist ties of the wreath, that glue is going to melt that twist tie and really hold that little piece of bush exactly where you put it. I've said before, I'm a very aggressive gluer. I like to make sure things aren't going to fall apart. So I'm just going to go around the edge of this, and we're even going to put it underneath the bow. Not only will it help hold up the bow, but if the bow blows in the wind, you'll be able to still see that we've covered all the spots with that greenery. So let's just continue around. I may need an additional, well, I know I will need an additional bush, but we'll just do the same process, just gluing them into the ties. You can see I need a bigger work table. This wreath really takes up the whole table. And there, like I said before, I'll fidget with ribbons till the end of the evening if I have to. Just going to make this one shorter. This is actually a very fun process in wreath making. When you're making a wreath that has all you're doing is stuffing things into it, it actually is very enjoyable for me, because the florals bring a lot of life to your wreath. Okay, here I have a couple more pieces that I need to trim up. Now I know this video is really long, but this wreath is very involved between stuffing the wreath base with mesh and then all the ribbon tails as well as the bows. And you know, when you price your wreaths, if you sell your wreaths, price your wreaths according to how much time you put into it. You know, certainly this wreath here, in addition to the quantity of things we're going to be putting in the wreath, it does take quite some time to make a wreath like this. So this wreath will be one of my higher priced wreaths in my Etsy shop. But it'll be worth it because you'll see how many florals and things that we put into this wreath. So this is my second bush from Hobby Lobby. So this wreath is going to take 2 bushes. Just keep on moving through this process. We're almost done. Okay, now I've selected some other flowers to go in, and you can see that they're bigger heads on them. As well as some very airy bushes that I'll cut up and put in pieces. I'm going to probably use these to bring out a little bit of an orange in the... You don't want it all to be pink. We want some orange as well. Okay, I like the bigger flowers in this pick. So I probably will cut this pick apart and use those bigger flowers. You notice that they have some orange to them, an orangey tint to them. And this bush also has some berries. All these different textures are going to really add a lot to your finished product. Bet you're all thinking, let's just get started. Stop showing us and let's get started. Okay, so I did go and I cut up, this is a bush called 60919. I have an orange bush as well as a pink 60919. And I'm going to just alternate between the orange and the pink, and I'm going to put this around the perimeter to give the airiness. You'll see when I put them in, they'll go outside the sight line of the wreath a little bit, but it'll be a very airy touch to this wreath. Now 60919 is just very popular filler, It's wonderful because it comes in 3 pieces. The stem has 3 pieces. Here I've just cut off a twiggy part, which I don't want to use in this wreath. But every stem of 60919 has 3 pieces. You just pull apart the 3 pieces from the main stem, and then you spread out each one of those 3, and you can see that it gives you a very widespread filler that you'll just tuck in. So I'll have 3 of them in orange, 3 in pink. And I'm just going to disperse them around the perimeter. Just kind of tuck them in. Keep the stem long so it has something to, when you poke it into the wreath, it can get deeper into the wreath. Remember, we started with an evergreen base, so there's a lot of those ties, evergreen ties below the surface. And when you have a long stem like that, you can, when you glue it in, you can really, push it through to the inner workings of the wreath. But you can see how it kind of gives a kind of a lacy effect on the edge of the wreath. So that's why I'm going to take both orange and pink and alternate them and go around. Now I'm heating up my glue gun, because sometimes if you find a placement for a flower and you don't want to pull it back out, you simply need to add a dollop of glue using a glue gun where it's at. So it saves you a little time that way. If you want to take and kind of do a dry run with all of your flowers and then just go back and glue them later, or not later, but just after everything is in place. So the gluing technique is up to you. Some people don't have glue pots and just use a glue gun. With 60919, you really just have to take your time and spread it out. And you can see in this case, I'm taking off a fern that's kind of it's a darker color, so I didn't want to use it in this wreath. But if you just take your time and spread it out, 60919 will really do the job for you to give you a lacy feeling and fill in a lot of areas. You'll see we'll be able to do this whole wreath with just 4 stems, 2 each of orange and 2 of pink. But you see how the flowers kind of dangle on the edge there? Like I said, it just gives it a very lacy feeling, airy feeling. When you do pull apart the 60919, you'll see that I just trimmed off the end of them, because they do pull apart. These stems are hand woven with the green tape, so you'll see that sometimes when you pull them apart, the ends will kind of pull apart. And all you need to do then is just take one of the wires from the end and twist it together, and that little wire will hold all of those pieces together for you. And see, because I haven't glued it yet, I can still adjust them to get a better spacing if you need to. Which is why, like I said, sometimes I put them in, my flowers in first to see if I like them, and then I'll glue them in. Here I am just trimming that edge. There you go. So looking at this now, I actually think I just used 2 stems, one of the pink 60919 and one of the orange 60919, because I've already covered about half of the wreath with 3 of them, and there's 3 stems on each 60919 branch. So I must have just used 2. It's not really going to be a focal flower, but it will add a lot of whimsy to this wreath. And you see, by opening it up and spreading it out, it takes up a lot of real estate. You can see that that one in particular took a while to get deep enough into the wreath. And I know that I definitely don't want to pull these all back out again. So what I will probably just go back through, and I know for sure I'll just use my glue gun and just lift up and apply the glue right in to where the stem meets the wreath. Okay. I think I'm just going to move these down a little bit, because you'll see that the bow, underneath the bow, really doesn't have anything. So if I move them in just a little bit more, it covers it better. And again, this is just for a little added touch. It's not the major part of the wreath, but okay. So let's, with the glue gun, just go in, and all you're going to do is just squirt glue where that stem of the flower meets the twist ties of the wreath. And that's all you need to do. Just kind of separate it out, stick it in, and glue it. Now I will warn you, sometimes the glue will drip through to the mat that's underneath your table, or on top of your table underneath your wreath, but you can peel the glue off fairly easily. And now I'm just going around to make sure that I glue all 6 of those stems in. I should have one more stem to glue, and then we'll be off to our next floral. Okay. That bunny looks funny upside down. I'm glad I finally turned it the right way. This will be my last stem. Whenever you're working with florals in a wreath, I recommend that you get an industrial glue, like a Gorilla Glue stick, or they have other ones out there. AdTech is one glue that I use as well. And then I cut up those sticks and put them into my glue pot. So it's twofold for that. But definitely get a good glue and use a lot of it. You'll be happy you did. Okay, so now let's get to the big florals. After I've gotten the perimeter done, now I'm just going to be looking for places to put my big florals. And I work in threes, kind of a triangle, so that your eye moves throughout the wreath. So as I place these flowers, I'm looking to balance them out around the wreath. And again, I usually work in threes and create a triangle with the flowers that I'm working with. So I'll put one here. Let me glue in this top one real quick. And this one will be good because there's a bunch of mesh, just a little too much mesh there. So this will help take your eye away from the mesh. I'm keeping the stem long again so that it reaches through and can connect up with the pine ties below the surface. Okay. And here's 3 oranges. I should say that you don't always have to work in threes. If you don't work in threes, you definitely need to put them across, like I did with the pink flowers. Move them across from each other, on a line, a diagonal line through your wreath. Here we're just going to place them to make sure that the triangle I'm sorry that you can't really see this because it's off screen, but I am trying to make the triangle with these orange flowers. Oh, you'll see and you don't want your flowers all on the same level or pointing the same way. But you see the triangle there? So, some of your flowers can be pointing sideways and some can be pointing upright. That's how they grow in nature. They don't all grow straight up. So take your time and kind of, manipulate your flowers so that they are definitely, if you're working in threes, a triangle. And you never want them really on the same level because they end up looking like eyeballs. So you want to make sure that one, like if they're on different sides of the wreath, make sure one is just a little bit higher and one is lower. It helps your eye move throughout the arrangement. Okay, so next we're going to just put in, these were the pink flowers that had a little bit of an orange tint to them. And they have a nice white filler attached to them. So we're just going to spread these throughout the wreath. And kind of go between the triangle that you started with the orange and just fill in where you see it needs a flower. And you can see that one's not, the first one that I just put in isn't pointing upwards, it's kind of pointing to the side. But you remember, you'll see your wreath, when it's hung on a door or a wall, you'll be able to see all the sides of your wreath, the front and the sides as well. So don't forget to tuck a flower here, there, and everywhere on the sides. And even give it depth by sticking it in the wreath, more into the wreath, shall we say. I'm trying to make sure that I don't cover up her paws or her feet. They're so cute. But I can see that it looks like a hole there, so I'm sure it's somewhat bothersome, but we'll just keep moving through. This bush, when I cut it apart, it had these larger stem flowers and the little berry bushes that I just showed. So I want to make sure after you cut up your bush that you kind of separate the pieces and pair them up, meaning, gather up all of the larger flowers and making sure how many you have, so that way they're evenly dispersed throughout your wreath. The last thing you want to do is just start putting them in and then find out that you're a couple of them, short, and you don't have enough to fully go around the wreath. But by pairing them up, then you'll know, okay, for instance, I have 6 of the large blooms and 3 of the berry blooms. And then you can, with knowledge, add them to your wreath. Again, it all comes down to what it looks like in your eye. And I know I'm taking a lot of time here. I just want to fill in the spots and make sure I'm happy before I start gluing. This is where the powers of your mind have to come in. You have to remember to glue them all in. You'll see me sometimes give a little tug on them to find out if I've glued them in or not. It's a little bit of a test to Pink and orange are the colors of the year. They're very hot colors. So this wreath is going to be very trendy this year for Easter. Definitely on trend. Also this year, a big color is peach. I haven't used it yet, but I can see that the popularity of orange is really hitting big. Now we just have to put some of these berry bushes. These again were cut from that the star-shaped flower. I don't know the name of that. Kind of looked like a lily to me, but stargazer lily, but I'm not sure that that's what they would call it. In any case, that bush separated into many different layers. It had the berry layers and it had the flower layer, the actual flower itself. And if you can find those kind of bushes, those are wonderful for a design. Kind of takes the thinking out of it for you. All you have to do is cut it up and then spread it evenly. We also always pay attention adding a little bit to the bow area so that the bow kind of blends in with your design instead of kind of brings the bow into the design as opposed to just having the bow sitting on top of the design. So if you think about it, just add a little sprig here and there inside the layers of the bow, and it'll help your bow become part of the arrangement as opposed to sitting on top of your arrangement. I hope that makes sense. And you see too, I haven't tucked everything deep into it because I don't want it compressed. I want an airy appearance to the wreath. We are adding quite a bit into it. So by keeping them, the pieces that I'm gluing in a little bit outward, a little bit more than just, totally in, it's giving it a more airy feeling, not so compressed. And here we're going to go try to put a piece in the bow. Sometimes you just need to move the layer of the bow and put it inside the, the layer of the bow. You'll see, it'll take some time, but that last piece. I do want to add something to the basket because the basket's a little plain. We'll add some flowers in a little bit. And don't be afraid to put stuff under your bow. Again, that wreath is going to be seen from all different angles, so you definitely want to have a lot of angles, all the angles covered with that. I think we've covered a lot in this video so far. The rules of 2, the rules of 3. Now I'm just going to try to find a couple of little flowers for the basket, just as a finishing touch. I'm just trimming them off of another bush I have handy. That kind of completes the design a little bit. Let's glue those in real quick. These Sisal bunnies are very, very popular. I sell a lot of them, obviously around Easter, but it's one of the most popular wreaths that I sell. I also make a lot of candlestick arrangements with these Sisal bunnies. They make adorable candlestick arrangements as well. But there you go. I think that you can see it's stuffed full with flowers. All different sizes, large, small, different shapes. I know that this video was very long, and I thank you very much for sticking with me.